I'm Sunder Subramaniam, and I head a startup incubator called VentureStudio at Ahmedabad University, which is a young private research-based university which has come up, the chancellor of which is Sanjay Lalbai. So what we do is we promote entrepreneurship in multiple ways, across multiple sectors, domains, and also different kinds of people who want to be entrepreneurs, be it student, be it professionals, be it entrenched professionals like you, right? So I think this is my habit of going with a few slides. I don't know if I should make it extempore, but I'll just quickly scan through some of them. So even before we go into, many things like, bring out the entrepreneur in you, I think it'll be good to go into some definitions, right? So if you looked at Google and asked, what is entrepreneurship, for example, it comes out with some definition like this, right? The capacity and the willingness to develop, organize, manage a business venture along with its risks in order to make a profit, right? So there are some very key words here. You have to have the capacity, you have to have the willingness, there are going to be risks, but ultimately you want to make a profitable venture, right? So, because each word is pregnant with a lot of meaning there. But, when we look at typically the type of ventures doctors have, they have business practices, they're professional practices. Some of them are technopreneurs, right? They develop a device, they develop a catheter, they develop a stent, etc., etc. Some of them are intrapreneurs. So especially in US, in other places, you have doctors who are recruited and by Medtronic and J&J and all these, and they develop solutions within them. Some of them dabble into social ventures like the blood bank initiative, etc. Of course, you also have a lot of doctors who are investors. So so that also means that they're supporting entrepreneurship, be it angels, be it part of other groups. And of course, you also have consultants, right? But among those, do they all come under the umbrella of entrepreneurship, right? To some extent it does, but entrepreneurship is something slightly more. So I just want you to keep this in mind, that typically when you talk of entrepreneurship, it has two other dimensions to it, right? One is it should be innovative. So it should not be a me too or an also ran. It should be something which is not there currently, which solves an unmet need, obviously, right? And it has a high potential for growth, right? So in general, entrepreneurship has these two definitions, and we always know that it is a small enterprise. So with this kind of thought behind entrepreneurship, then if you go back, right, of course, entrepreneurship can be in different dimensions, then some of this will actually stand out more, right? Of course, social, you have to see that there is a profitable entity behind it because entrepreneurship is defined that way. But some of the other things more or less drop out, right, from an entrepreneurship perspective. So I just want to make sure that we understand this because this will be critical when we go forward. Of course, there are different kinds of innovation. You can innovate in materials and products, right? So you can develop a new stent, for example, a bioabsorbable stent or something. You can innovate on processes. If you're manufacturing a vaccine or a biologic, the kind of cell lines you use, etc., process developments, or if you want to store organs in a different way, maybe improvise in the process of preserving them. You could have innovation delivery and service, which is where the health information technology comes in, and you have everything at your disposable use. And then you can also innovate on business model, right? So if you have SaaS, or as you mentioned, phone consulting, right? So which is a business model innovation compared to the current model which is prevailing, right? So you can have all that, but ultimately it boils down to this. So, and when I looked at some studies abroad, so for example, Duke University, which is quite a prestigious university, especially in healthcare, and they had a study in 2007. They saw that among the patents granted in some time frame, at least 20% of them came from physician inventors. Physician inventors accounted for 20% of the inventions, right? They were more scientific, those inventions were more scientific, they anticipated technological trajectories better, and they were cited more. So the reason I'm saying this is the inventions which come from the doctors, from the physicians, are in many ways much better than much of the inventions which come from the corporate world themselves, right? And another study, a similar study from Temple in Philadelphia, said among the 170 pre-market approvals, so that's the FDA route for devices, the pre-market approval route, right? Among that, physician-founded startup companies accounted for 11, which was far more than non-physician-founded companies. So the reason I'm saying all this is the fountainhead of innovation is basically the physicians, the doctors, all of you. So when I've conversed with many people, both here and outside, everybody has some great ideas, but I think you just have to take the next step to make it happen. And we are there to support you. So that's what we want to convey today, basically. Because when you look at all that, in spite of all the patents, etc., even in the US, only 1% or less than 1% of physicians actually become entrepreneurs, right? If you take out the practices, if you take out their private practices, which means that you're leaving a lot of money on the table. As Dr. Bush was saying earlier in the morning, all the business people are here because healthcare is a huge business field. And we're leaving a lot of money on the table because you have either great ideas or products which are not commercialized in the best way possible, and somebody else will come in and take it. Right? Actually, the minimum you could do is at least develop the solution and license it to companies, if not anything else. Right? So the solutions which the doctors and the physicians and the whole medical community have are pertinent for us, and it is of a great economic value, which we should understand and pursue. Right? And I was just looking at, I was comparing skill sets of doctors, entrepreneurs, and it was almost the same, literally. Doctors, strong work ethic, they pivot fast, uncertainty, decision making is fast, clinical judgment, action-oriented, driven, motivated. I mean, all these are the same for entrepreneurs as well. So there is absolutely no reason that a doctor cannot just pivot if they have an interesting idea to become an entrepreneur also. Right? It's not that you're leaving what you're doing, but you're just putting on a different hat. And that hat is not very much different from what you're already doing. Right? And I was asking, why is this happening? So why is it that more physicians with great ideas don't come out and translate it into commercial solutions for outcomes? And maybe it's because our ecosystem, we all have to take blame there, is that maybe we're not providing a platform for that. Maybe we're not providing a platform by which when a person has a thought, we take it all the way through, right? Or at least we help take it all the way through, and so that their opportunity costs or their risks are mitigated, right? So that they don't think it's a totally different initiative, which I'll have to, forego my current work, right? So I think with that, but that is all fast changing. There are a lot of places where people are organizing as physician entrepreneurs, right, across the world. And I think in India too, we would like, at least VentureStudio, would like to be a platform so that if anybody has an inventive or an innovative idea, we would like to help take it across all the way through. And we're very privileged to be the innovation partner for Hitcon and Management Medicos. And in fact, we've been talking for quite some time, and we already have 2 or 3 doctors who have some interesting ideas who are already on board trying to get their solutions through. So I just wanted to leave with that thought that, let's work together. We are also investing on facilities. So if you have an interesting medical device idea, we'll try to have the right facilities for you. If you have a nice diagnostic idea, we'll have the right facilities for you. In fact, if you're working on infectious diseases and vaccines, for example, we'll have the right facilities for you. So use us as a platform by which you can take your idea and take it all the way through, right? I'll just stop at this. And so all this is what we can provide. But I think apart from facilities, we also provide access to funding from the different grants which we've been approved for. Nidhi Prayas, EAR, Seed Support, also the government of Gujarat. So we also try to handhold you in terms of resources, facilities, resources, and mentoring. And let's just work on it to make it happen. Home Depot, which is a company in the US, has an interesting quote. It says, "You can do it, we can help." Just modified it to say that you can do it, the ecosystem can help. So we're all here to help all of you take it forward And there are a lot of other incubators as well. So you can, and there are some fantastic ones outside Gujarat as well. NCL has venture center, C-Camp in NCBS, a lot of good ones. But the critical thing is all of you have great ideas. Use us as a platform to enable to come to the market in a commercially viable way.